everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in my last video I told you guys about the idea of me being deeply unhappy in my marriage, and looking back now, if I can be really honest, I strongly believe I had like a breakdown. I really did have a mental breakdown. I think everything just piled on top of me, you know, and there was no help, there was no therapy, there was no time to even sit and think about what was going on internally. It was just like getting on with things, you know, because like by the time I finished high school and I'd met my first love, we got married straight away. So I was like engaged by the age of 18. By the time I was 19, we was married. And then by the time I was 21, or coming up to 21, we had our first child. And on top of this, we had bought our first home. We was running my parents' takeaway. Then we went on to having we bought our own restaurant, and that was a big project in itself. Then I developed postnatal depression. I'd received no counselling as a child growing up for the traumas that I faced through the separation between my parents and I. And then I just fell into a very, very dark hole. I was very, very unhappy. You know, my husband at the time, he did try his best to love me, support me. But he couldn't, because I didn't love myself. I needed to love myself, and I couldn't love anyone around me because I didn't love myself. There was nothing that I loved about myself at that point. You know, I didn't like the way I looked. I didn't really know who I was. I really didn't understand how to love myself, you know. And it got all too much for me. I was wanting to leave. I couldn't leave. I wanted to run away, I couldn't run away. And then eventually I plucked up the courage to finally leave straight into a rebound relationship. I feel that it was my way of trying to, again, like mask the problem that was going on internally. You know, again, I was running from oil into like hot water. I was always running away. I just didn't know how to deal with anything. You know, I didn't know how to be alone. And that relationship didn't work out. Within a year, it had all come tumbling down. And as a result of that relationship, I ended up falling pregnant once again, you know. And I went back to my parents, this time being a single mother. Big mess. You know, instead of just being still and finding the right help and to try and help myself, I kind of like ran away from my problem instead. I was living in Cumbria at the time, and I opened up my first business, which was the nail salon. And I kind of like lived life with my rebound partner at the time, who I went on to have you know, my daughter, my second daughter with. It was, I don't know what I was thinking, to be honest with you. The mistakes that I'd made, I mean, like, you know, it couldn't have been a mistake because I got my daughter out of it, but it was just such a, how could I be so deluded with the idea of jumping from hot water into hot oil, you know? I didn't know anything better. I was a child in my early 20s, you know? I didn't know anything better. My mother and father was living in London. I was now from Workington to Carlisle, you know, still away from my parent in Cumbria. I'd already left my husband with my, like, you know, everything that I'd ever built up together with my child, because I felt so guilty. I left him with everything. I was in this rebound relationship. Straight away, within 6 months, I fell pregnant again. You know, I didn't understand him. He didn't understand me. The relationship was toxic. Then I left him with my baby. At the time, I'd sent my child to go and live with my mum. How disturbing. you know, because I was so messed up. I needed to sort my head out, you know, but I couldn't. I didn't know how to. I sold the business in Carlisle to move back to London with my mum. So, you know, I didn't know what was going on with my husband and blah, blah, blah. He went on to be with with another lady. That's another story in itself. They, you know, made it very difficult for me to go and visit my child. So in the end, I made a very big decision to completely withdraw myself from what was going on here, because it was too much to deal with. Because I was dealing with like a broken relationship together with, you know, my second child. Now sold the business in Carlisle, moved back to London now to be with my parent, and I just couldn't be a mum. I just couldn't be a mother, because I'd had a breakdown. I'd had a mental breakdown, but I was still coping. I was still living. I was still existing. But internally, I'd had broken down. So I sold the business, went back to my parent. My mum gave me an ear bashing, you know, how could I be so stupid? And like, how could you get yourself in such a bad position and place? Why did you leave your husband, everything? It was just a big bollocking. That's what it was. In the end, I said to my mother, I said, please take care of my daughter. I need to go. And that's when I packed my bags and I went to Thailand, backpacking by myself for 3 months. I needed to find myself, you know, and I needed to heal. But at that time, I was so empty within. I was so empty. I was just on this run to look for something, and I didn't even know what I was looking for. I really didn't know. When I was sitting, I remember very clearly on the beach of Thailand in Koh Phangan, I remember speaking to a backpacker, and I said to him, I said, you know, I hear that a lot of people say that when you're backpacking, by the end of your journey, you would have found what you're looking for. Is that true? And he says, well, yes, I hear a lot of people say that, but I hope you find what you're looking for. In my heart, I was still trying to find love. How ridiculous. You know, I was still looking outer of myself to try and look for love. But really and truly, what I should be looking for was to find love within myself. But I was so lost and so damaged and so confused. I really didn't understand this. And because I had no therapy and no one telling me, I was still running from my problems and still trying to find love outside of myself. So guys, in my next video, I'm going to be telling you guys about my travels in Koh Phangan for 3 months. So I want to thank you all for watching, and stay tuned, and I will see you guys in my next video. I'll see you there. Bye guys.